So I guess when I think back to the early days when I first got involved in social media, I remember some of the first meetings where I was introduced to Twitter, and probably like a lot of people, went out and set up an account and thought, well, what am I going to do with this, and how can I leverage this in my business? But I guess the simple fact that I went out and set up an account and then began to think about how I'm going to leverage that is indicative of how I consume technology. And I'm a voracious reader and a pretty voracious consumer of a high volume of content. And so for me, getting involved in social media early on was really to become more effective at consuming large amounts of information and do it in a planful, organized way. So I began to identify really sources of information, if you will, based on very specific areas of interest, and really begin to learn about how to leverage different ways to have that information come to me, have it filtered and organized in a way that would allow me to consume it in faster ways. So I was an early user of Google Reader, as an example, and took all of my repetitive emails and pushed them out of my email inbox and pushed them into a way that information would be served up to me and would be available for me to consume both online and offline after spending lots of time on planes, and also made it easier for me to send that information out to other people that I thought might have interest in consuming that information as well, or syndicate that content, if you will, being able to add some of my thought leadership color on why that particular audience should care about this particular piece of information. So I mentioned Twitter. I was also early in the days of LinkedIn, and to me what was fascinating about LinkedIn was this whole notion of being able to connect with people in a way that spanned their current email address or spanned their time at a specific company. Little did I know that I would be in a job several years later where I would have the need to be able to really pinpoint target the right person in an organization that I didn't have any currency with, I didn't have any relationship with. And what I began to see with LinkedIn is through some of my existing contacts, I would be able to create influence to connect me to the right person in an organization to get into the business discussion that I was desiring in a much compressed time frame. So very specifically, we were in the process of identifying some potential suppliers to join us in the virtualization practice. And because there were VP of sales or VP of alliances within the organization that I didn't have a direct relationship with, typically it would take weeks or months to get connected to that right person. With LinkedIn, and I remember a very specific case, I was able to connect through a relationship that I had with someone because they had a relationship with my target person, and was able to get on the phone with the CEO of a software company in 48 hours, where historically that would take a much longer period of time. That example has been repeated several times as that similar circumstances come up. So at the end of the day, LinkedIn is a very powerful content or contact tool that helps me get to the right people and consume or provide the right information in a much more expeditious manner. There are a whole host of other tools that I'll use as well. I was a beta tester of Google Plus as an example, and I've named a few that were some that are still active in the market. I probably have a much longer list of others that I've tried for different business values or another and found them to not be as effective in my particular application as I really needed them to be. So I guess from my perspective, you have to be willing to get out there and test how something might apply in your specific world, given your specific communication needs or connecting and networking needs. One of the other observations that I've made is it's critical in the selection of tools to make sure that you're connecting through tools that have your desired audience as members. And I've mentioned certainly LinkedIn and Twitter. We've had tremendous examples recently where Avnet has been connecting with many of the industry-leading suppliers that we have the privilege of representing in the marketplace. And what's really neat about the social networking type of connections is how you're able to spread out the interactions, if you will, much broader and deeper within those supplier organizations or partner organizations for that matter. So you get into discussions with people that are like-minded or like-interested in a much less frictioned way, if you will. I'm not even sure if that's a word, but it works for me. So social media, for me, has helped me connect, I guess in general, connect me more to the right people that I'm trying to get connected to without in advance knowing who those right people might be or what I might want to connect with them about. And it creates those connecting points. So I'm pretty active, as you would probably learn from what I've talked about, on Twitter, LinkedIn, to a lesser degree Google+, but certainly out there. I'm fairly active on Facebook, but quite honestly, most of my activity on Facebook is more personal than it is business. Not to say that I don't consume information from businesses, but the people-to-people connection is very personal for me and less so from a business perspective. And I think, as I referenced earlier, I'm still a pretty active user of Google Reader as a way to consume RSS-delivered content and then use that as a routing point out to all the different constituencies that I communicate with, whether it be LinkedIn, Twitter, Google+, Facebook in some cases, or direct communication on email. There's certainly a whole bunch of very connected technology that makes all of those work very well together, if you will.